Welcome to my channel Midsummer Myths, where you find stories like no other, packed with twists, drama, and unbelievable moments you won't forget. It was a quiet afternoon in the city, one of those deceptively calm days where danger lurks just beneath the surface. A black veteran, recently returned from active duty overseas, strolled down the familiar streets of his neighborhood. He carried himself with a quiet confidence, the kind that comes from surviving situations most people could never imagine. But even his composure couldn't anticipate what was about to unfold. Across the street, a local police officer, notorious for racial profiling, watched with a predatory intensity. This officer had made a habit of targeting black men in the neighborhood, planting evidence, and exploiting every loophole in the system to assert control. Today, he had selected his victim, but he was about to make a catastrophic miscalculation. Without warning, the cop approached the veteran under the guise of a casual investigation. His hands were steady, but his mind raced with arrogance and self-assuredness. He reached into his coat and planted what he believed were drugs in the veteran's bag, convinced this would be another easy arrest to add to his record. Cameras from nearby shops captured the moment, though the cop had no idea. They would later reveal every detail. The veteran's eyes narrowed subtly as he noticed the movement, a flicker in the officer's behavior that didn't align with honesty. He had encountered manipulation before, but never someone so bold, so careless. The tension escalated in an invisible tug-of-war, one that only those trained to read body language could sense. Every heartbeat, every subtle shift in posture was a signal that a storm was about to break. As the officer tried to assert control, the veteran stayed calm, aware that one wrong move could escalate the situation into chaos. And yet, he also recognized opportunity, the chance to expose the officer's misconduct in a way that would ripple far beyond this single encounter. Passers-by began to notice the unusual interaction, some pausing, sensing that the confrontation was anything but ordinary. Then came the first twist. The veteran, using his military-honed instincts, recorded subtle evidence on his smartwatch, capturing the cop's illegal actions without drawing attention. The predator had unknowingly become prey, and the balance of power had already begun to shift. The officer, confident and reckless, was walking toward a disaster he couldn't yet see. The officer, emboldened by his perceived authority, attempted to confront the veteran more aggressively. He reached for the bag again, this time making a bold statement. "Step aside. You're under arrest." His voice carried arrogance, a poisonous blend of superiority and ignorance. The veteran didn't flinch. Instead, he subtly adjusted his stance, positioning himself strategically in the narrow street between onlookers and the officer. Every micro-movement was calculated, a silent message. "I am aware, I am prepared, and I will not be intimidated." Pedestrians began to notice the mounting tension. Some took out phones, some whispered, sensing that something extraordinary was happening. The officer, blind to the crowd, assumed no one would intervene. He didn't notice the vigilant gaze of a nearby security camera or the tiny recording device strapped to the veteran's arm. Every illegal step he took, every unjust action, was being quietly documented. The confrontation escalated further when the officer attempted to forcefully detain the veteran. What followed was a display of restraint and skill honed from years of military service. The veteran neutralized the immediate threat with precise movements, ensuring no physical harm but demonstrating authority and control. The cop, now frustrated and humiliated, had no idea that his actions were setting the stage for a public reckoning. By now, the crowd had grown, murmurs spreading like wildfire. Witnesses recorded snippets of the unfolding drama, unaware that these recordings would soon go viral. The officer's arrogance was crumbling. He was trapped in his own overconfidence, unaware that his next mistake would be his undoing. And then came the pivotal moment. The veteran called the police station, calmly reporting the attempted setup, while simultaneously sending his live footage to local media outlets. The cop's actions were now irreversibly exposed. The balance of power had fully shifted, and what began as an ordinary street confrontation had transformed into a high-stakes battle of justice versus corruption. The veteran's report triggered an immediate response. Dispatch verified his location, ensuring that backup would arrive if the officer attempted further aggression. Meanwhile, the cop, realizing he had been recorded, tried to salvage his credibility, but his every move had already been documented. The digital evidence left no room for excuses. The veteran, calm yet unwavering, continued to engage the officer verbally, exposing the wrongdoing without raising his voice. Passers-by and early reporters captured these interactions, sharing the narrative online within minutes. The cop's arrogance turned into panic as he realized his reputation and career were in immediate jeopardy. The tide of the confrontation shifted entirely when the veteran revealed hidden footage from his smartwatch. The camera captured the moment of planting drugs with clarity, a damning record that left the officer speechless. Security personnel arrived shortly after, and the officer was ordered to step back. Humiliation washed over him as the evidence confirmed his misconduct. Social media immediately latched onto the story. Clips of the confrontation spread rapidly, earning attention from local and national news. The veteran, however, remained focused on the broader message that courage, strategy, and composure can overcome prejudice and corruption. His tactical restraint contrasted sharply with the officer's reckless behavior, solidifying public perception of who was truly in control. By the time investigators arrived, the cop was visibly shaken. What he thought would be an easy setup had spiraled into a public spectacle. His actions scrutinized by witnesses, cameras, and digital recordings. Justice, long delayed, was finally catching up, but in a way that no one expected. The following day news outlets splashed the story across television screens and social media feeds. Headlines shouted of courage, injustice exposed, and a black veteran standing tall against corruption. The cop's career was under scrutiny, and internal investigations began immediately. The veteran's composed strategy had turned what could have been a humiliating arrest into a public triumph of justice. He had not sought revenge, yet the exposure of wrongdoing was undeniable. Social media influencers, black rights organizations, and everyday citizens rallied in support, celebrating a narrative of courage, intelligence, and integrity. Even more shocking was the discovery of previous complaints against the officer, buried for years. The veteran's confrontation became the tipping point, bringing these incidents to light and forcing accountability at levels no one had anticipated. The ripple effect was immense, as other victims felt empowered to come forward, finally challenging systemic abuse. Through all of this, the veteran remained humble. He understood that true power wasn't in retaliation, but in using skill, foresight, and moral clarity to turn injustice into transformation. The officer, humiliated and exposed, now faced consequences far beyond a single encounter. The community's perception had shifted dramatically, recognizing that one person's courage, backed by strategy and evidence, could challenge corruption. At its core, the story became a blueprint for accountability, inspiring countless individuals to stand firm against systemic prejudice. Weeks later, the officer faced formal disciplinary hearings, public scrutiny, and the weight of his own exposed arrogance. Meanwhile, the veteran continued his life, quietly proud of the justice he had catalyzed. The irony was undeniable. A man who had tried to exploit prejudice had instead catalyzed accountability. Thanks to the veteran's foresight and composure, the viral footage continued circulating, sparking conversations nationwide about courage, systemic bias, and standing up against corruption. The veteran became a symbol of hope, strategy, and restraint, inspiring Black heroes across communities to pursue justice. Intelligently and fearlessly, the cop's arrogance had been his undoing, while the veteran's skill and moral clarity had created a narrative that would be remembered for years. The story's resolution highlighted the power of preparation, awareness, and courage in confronting prejudice. How did you like this story? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more incredible stories from Midsummer Myths.